Hey travelers, Marcello here, wandering trader. For those of you guys that don't know me, I've been traveling around the world now for about, I want to say 9 years, all over the world. And today I'm going to do a video on my favorite countries that I think you should travel to. So for those of you guys that don't know, I've been living in Colombia for about 3 years now, I want to say. I think this is me going on my 4th year. And I think Colombia really is an absolutely amazing place. For those of you guys that heard about the peace agreement, you probably know that they signed a peace agreement with one of the guerrilla groups. So for you guys, it might be considered safe now. For me, it's been safe for quite some time. But Colombia, for me, it's a country with immense diversity. It has great people, beautiful women, obviously. And the city of Medellin, for me, is one of the most amazing cities in the world. The nickname is City of Eternal Spring. And really, the city there is just, it's incredible. It really is. I love to live there because of the weather. For those of you guys that looking for places to invest on a comparative scale to other real estate around the world, it's really, really cheap. Those of you guys that watch the video here on YouTube, I bought a 6-bedroom penthouse for about $120,000 or $130,000, jacuzzis and all. So I really think that you guys should check out Colombia, because for most of you guys that are watching this video in the US, it's only a 3 or 4 hour flight. You know, Cartagena and the beaches gets a little bit hot, so if you wanna avoid too much heat, go in December or January. They have just in a city north of Cartagena on the Caribbean coast, they have a city called Barranquilla. Barranquilla is I have one of the coolest carnivals that I've been to in Latin America, in all of Latin America. The interior, the mountains, just absolutely everything. It's wonderful. One other thing I definitely recommend that you go and try is crepes and waffles. You got to try Nutella crepe. It's absolutely exceptional. And obviously there's a ton of local food for you guys to try. After that, my favorite country after that would probably be Ethiopia. I think Ethiopia is a country that most of you don't even realize is a lot more interesting than you would think. I think most of you guys that are my age or older, I'm 30, going on 33 now, the Ethiopia, when we think about it, if we think about the famine, right? The famine that they had years ago, I think is when I was 16 or 17. But now the country is quite different. It's not obviously as prosperous as other countries. It's still a third world country, so to speak, but there's thousands of years of history. You know, the skeletons that they found there, supposedly it's a cradle of life, even though they've been finding other findings recently, but that's not the point of the video. But they have, you can feed hyenas. If you guys haven't seen that video, maybe I'll put it in the end. In Harar in the south, it's one of the most religious cities for Muslims. There's Lalibela, which is supposedly one of the historical artifacts of during Jesus' time, is there as well. It's called the Second Jerusalem. They have the temples, the churches that are carved out of rock. You know, they have Axum, which had the Axumite Empire. I mean, it's just endless things to see. Hiking, mountains, the people are absolutely great. I always kind of, you know, for those of you guys, you know, I was born in Latin America, so for me, I relate to Latin culture the most because I love the people, Spanish people, not from Spain, but from Latin America, because they're friendly and they like to dance and have a good time. So I always compare every country to kind of that personality of Latin America. And for me, the Ethiopians are a little bit more shy than what a normal Latin person would be, but they're very nice people. And obviously you guys, you know, if you're interested in the women are beautiful as well. Outside of Ethiopia, Brazil, you know, it's a little bit dangerous right now. Just looking at my list here, Brazil is a country that it's just an endless party. I went to Carnival, I lived in Rio for 6 months. I went from all the coast all the way in the north, which is called San Luis de Maranhão. It's a desert that has all the lakes all the way down to Jericoacoara, What are the other places? Fortaleza, Porto de Galinhas, all the beaches all the way down from the upper tip all the way down to Salvador, then Rio, and then even further south to Florianopolis, Parachi, and Porto Alegre. And just the Brazilian people are great. It's not the best place to be right now because it's a little bit dangerous with the recession and the coup that they had with the president, but I mean, Brazil is just always a party. So if you're looking for a good party or a place to have fun at, obviously you should definitely go to Brazil. Outside of that, looking at my list here, Israel I think is a really interesting country as well. I don't want to talk about politics depending on what side you're on, but visiting the country and getting to know the people, because obviously the people don't have anything to do with the government and their decisions. They're great people. You know, Tel Aviv is like a New York, Miami Beach is a massive tech hub there, a lot of business, but at the same time, the Israelis love to have a good time. You know, the people are great. The men I've heard are good looking, for those of you ladies that are interested, and the women obviously are very good looking and tough as well. They're all in the military, but there's a ton of history to see obviously in Israel. And if you go next door or near the border of Jordan, you know, Petra is absolutely one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. But it's incredible, and I definitely recommend it. I wanted to kind of stay away from the cliche most visited places in the world kind of thing in Europe, for example, but I really like Italy and Belgium. Italy because there's so much history and so many things to see. I mean, everything from you know, Sicily in the south, you guys are missing so much. There's been you know, the conquest. It was in the middle of everything. So you have the Christian architecture and history all the way to the Muslim and even the Byzantine. It's incredible. I lived in Sicily for quite some time, and it's really interesting. And if you go further north on the southern tip, obviously Tropea, if you guys, I may put a picture up so you guys can see it. Tropea, like the views are just impressive, very impressive, especially if you're able to take out a boat to go see the local beaches, the islands, the cliff rocks, everything. Obviously the Amalfi Coast, Positano, all those places are just as picturesque as it can be. And even going up north to Milan. Milan I don't really like as much, but you know, Venice, Tuscany, I mean, Italy is just incredible. And then outside of that, Belgium. I think Belgium is it's a really interesting country. The city of Ghent is really interesting as well. I compare it to Austin in Texas. It's not really, you can't really describe it the same as anything else, but it's really interesting. I really like Ghent a lot. Cool people, good vibe, a lot of good pubs and places to eat, and of course you have to try the Belgian waffles. Other than that, those are all the countries on my list of my favorite countries in the world. I think in Asia, I haven't explored Asia as much as I would like to, simply because I guess now I'm more focused on business. For you guys know that I day trade, and I'm an investor also, and I teach people how to day trade. It's a company called the Day Trading Academy if you guys want to check it out. But the places that I have gone in Asia, Singapore I think is a really interesting country, and it can act as a good hub as long as you guys can afford it. I always say that Singapore isn't necessarily a millionaire's playground, but a billionaire's playground. And it's really interesting because within Singapore you go to kind of Singapore proper, which is where all the the money is, and the buildings and all the stuff going on, and it's picture perfect, everything's in its place. But then you go to a place like Little India or Little China, and it's completely different, and it's like a third world country, and it's chaos, and you can have that really good local street food as well. 2017 will be a great year for you guys to travel. The dollar is super strong, so for you guys, the British pound right now is at a 31 to 32 year low. The euro is almost at parity, which means that for $1 you get €1 instead of 130, 140. So traveling now for everybody who uses the US dollar is quite beneficial. Highly recommend you just kind of go out there and explore the world. Now that I've been traveling for over 8 years, I can really say that I've probably learned more about myself from travel than any other thing, even university, because for me, university was an absolute waste of time. But I'm going on 90 countries now. If I get to Asia this year, I wanted to go to Tokyo, Singapore, the Maldives, maybe Australia, and a few other countries there in Asia to kind of explore Asia a little bit more. That's the only thing I really haven't explored in depth, because I think when I first started my kind of travel career, I wanted to kind of go to all the off the beat places like Somalia and South Sudan, and the Guyanas in South America. Most of you guys probably don't even know where that's at. It's the three countries on the top right tip of South America, to the right of Venezuela, but north or up from Brazil. But I definitely recommend you guys go and visit those countries. Thank you guys for following me all these years. I'm definitely going to go ahead and try to keep up with it a little bit more to kind of inspire you guys to travel the world. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. We'll talk soon. Ciao.